like urban fantasy, paranormal romance, supernatural, and a little bit of action and fighting, check out my book called The Elements. Book 1, Part 1 and 2. Book 2, Part 1 and 2. And Book 3, Part 1 are available on Amazon. Check them out. It's a great read. It's about 4 people becoming the elemental guardians, earth, air, fire, and water. And it's their journey throughout the book, but they also have tasks, tribulations, and journeys to go on during the book. So it's a great read. It's like reading a TV series, so I've heard. So check it out, and on to the video. So you've decided to write a book, and the 3 questions you ask yourself, you are ready to go. You have your materials ready, you have your mindset, but you find yourself staring at a blank piece of paper or a blank computer screen. And you're asking yourself, what do I do next? Today we are talking about 8 different things you should keep in mind when you start writing your book. These are important. I can't stress enough. Number 1, your plot line. Basically your whole story. Your beginning, your middle, and your end. Like building a house, you need a foundation to start your book. And if you don't have a foundation to start your book, you're leaving your characters in a house that's just going to fall down. And you really don't want that. You want to remember your plot line should have a beginning, a middle, and an end. It doesn't have to be detailed and everything that you want in the book. Just get a gist of the idea of the beginning, middle, and end. Number 2, characters. Now I know what you're saying. Tanya, duh, you need characters to write a story. You just can't write a story without characters. I mean, you can, but it'd be kind of hard. But when you're writing your story, you want a good, clear image of what your characters are going to be like, how many characters you're going to have, how many sub-characters you're going to have, and if you're going to have any extras, which are people that are in the story, but they do not apply to the plot line. They are just there as a viewing object, as you could say. You want to know what they're going to look like, what kind of personalities they're going to have, what strengths and weaknesses they have, and if you're a writer like me, superpowers. Oh, I love superpowers! Remember, the character bio is something that you come up with, but will be shorter when you describe them in your book. You want a clear picture, but then you can synchronize it down to where you're not describing page upon page of your character. And nobody wants that. Number 3, geography. No, I am not talking about the class in high school. I am talking about world building. World building or geography is the settings around you. Are you in a modern city with cell phones, cars, and technology, like today's world? Or are you in a far-off kingdom where technology doesn't exist and they make their children marry whoever the parents choose? I am glad we don't live in those times. When you're writing your detail out in your book, unless you're writing a novel like J.R. Tolkien, page upon page of detail of your world setting is not needed. You can sum it down in a couple of paragraphs and readers will get the gist of your world setting, and that's how you do geography. Not going to teach you in high school. Number 4, the title. It's just not one of my favorite subjects. But you find somebody with a job that likes 100% of their job. If you do, more power to you, but I'm sure every person in this world that has a job has at least one thing they dislike about it. So you're trying to come up with a title for your book, and you're brainstorming before you even write it. Well, if you don't write it and let your mind just kind of relax into the book and let you come up with the story, it's going to be hard to come up with the title that way. My suggestion is finish your book and then think of things like, something that would be about your book. But if you're having a hard time, you can use a phrase from your book. You can use a vital object that is important to the book that could be your title, like the blue amulet. Mentioned once or twice in the book, or it could be something that is powerful enough to save the story at the end. You never know. But when you're doing your title, when you do come up with a title, I suggest you come up with 5 different ones, 3 to 5. I won't put that much pressure on you. And make sure that you do your research. I had a problem with Call of the Moon. I did not do my research and found out there are 20 other books just like that, called Call of the Moon. Not just like the story, but just like the title. So that was kind of a bummer, but you live and you learn, right? Right. Number 5, blurbs. This is like my most hated thing that I had to do, and I had to learn it because it is very important, because what goes on the back of your book. This would be the blurb. This is part 2, so it's a lot shorter. But part 1, thicker book, it's hard to hold, is a lot longer. But when you're coming up with a blurb, is basically your outline condensed down, and then you condense it down again to where you tell bits and pieces of the story, but you do not give away anything. I have a hard time with that because I want you to know that there's going to be a fight happening here, and then there's going to be an argument between the 2 main characters here, and so on. No, your blurb is basically a very condensed version of the book, and it's best to leave it with a question, because you want your readers to question, like, what's going to happen, or what's going on in this book. I really want to read it. So you want to grab your readers with your blurb. That is the most important thing, because not only does it go on the back of a book, it also goes in your description when you do ebook versions. So blurbs are very important, but God, I hate them. I lost my mouse. Number 6, tags. And this is the third thing that I dislike about writing a book, is coming up with good tags to attract readers to your story. Now, tags are going to tell the people what the subgenres are of your story, so it's basically telling them that you've got this, and this, and this under fantasy. So for Call of the Elements, I chose, of course, my main genre is fantasy, and then my subgenres are paranormal, romance, mystery, supernatural, urban fantasy, and a lot of action and adventure and fighting. So you really want to make sure that your tags are the ones that's going to grab your readers. They really don't care about what the main genre is, because there's only like, I think 7 main genres, and they fantasy, horror, fiction, whatever. So, well, basically the main genre of my story would be fiction and fantasy. So you got your fiction and your nonfiction, and then you got your horror, fantasy, romance, comedy, drama, stuff like that. And then you got your subgenres, which is all the little things that I'm not going to name them off, because there's just so many. But that mainly covers your tags. You want good tags to attract the reader's eye, just to make them check out your book. That's not them reading it. That's not them finding it. That's them, okay, so it has romance in it, so I'm going to click on the book and read the blurb. See how it works together? They read the title, they read the blurb, they read your tags, they read your genre, and then hopefully, I mean, you can't make a person read your book, but you can hope. But that's it on tags. Number 7, genre, which is basically nonfiction and fiction, or horror, fantasy, drama, comedy, adventure, action, your main genre of your book. Now, along with tags are your subgenres, but your genre is basically what you're writing. Are you writing fantasy? Are you writing more romance? Are you writing more action? It's basically to let the readers know what kind of book they're getting into. Now, your main genre, fiction or nonfiction, that doesn't change. But you could have action, adventure, romance, horror, all of them in it. So that's why your subcategories are important to let the reader know what else is in store in this book. It's a fiction book, it's an action book, but what else is in there? So make sure that you research your genre that you want to write in so you get a better idea of how to present your story. Number 8, timelines. This one's pretty easy. It's basically the time and space where your story takes place. Look, I'm a poet and didn't even know it. Actually, I did because I have a poetry book available on Amazon called Inside the Walls. Okay, timelines basically is your story going to take place in modern or contemporary times like it is today, or are you going for the more historical timelines or alternative timelines like they do in the multiverse and Marvel? I love Marvel. And I love alternate timelines and multiverse, so that's the way I write. So, timelines are pretty simple. You have cell phones or you don't. You have technology or you don't. It's pretty simple. That's all I have for you today. Thank you for watching. Remember, this is your story. It's your secret world and your secret mind, so it's your story. Write it how you want to. Don't worry about readers until they get to the point where they're actually reading your book and they can put on reviews. A lot of authors have that problem, but don't get discouraged. There's other authors out there that are struggling too. That's why we try to provide a community to help other authors. You can reach me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Amazon, YouTube, and www.gingertanya.com. I will answer you. You can leave me a message. I usually get back to you right away once I check my stuff, so feel free to reach out if you have any questions, and we will continue doing this. You guys have a great day, okay? Bye!